Hi everyone. The idea of this particular video is to start to look at how you would go about setting up your Markbook within Canvas for the different courses that you teach, and then once you've got your Markbook set up, how you would go about marking assignments and providing students with marks using Canvas. You might recall an email from me earlier today saying that I had been working on this a little bit within my Year 10 PE class, and I've just got a screenshot here of my Markbook as it exists at the moment. You might ask, well, why have you got a screenshot of it and why aren't you showing us in Canvas? Well, I did that with a video before and I was just about to upload it to YouTube when I thought I've got all my student names down there, and I don't particularly want that and all the marks I've got here out there and available to the public. So this is about my 5th attempt at getting this video right today, so hopefully things go well this time, and I hope that my inner frustration doesn't come out in this video, but we'll see how we go. So this is how my Markbook in my Year 10 Specialist PE course looks at the moment. You can see I've got an exercise physiology assignment here that hasn't been marked yet, but it's sitting there. Badminton, touch football, and this test were all tasks that were completed last term. And I've entered those marks in there today. I'll explain how later. Assignments, practical, tests, and exam, they're all assessment groups or assignment groups, if you like, that I have added a particular weighting to. So my assignments are worth 20% of my final mark, practical worth 60% of the final mark for this course, tests 10%, and the exam 10% as well. You can see here, for example, that badminton and touch football are both practical tasks, so they've been weighted evenly to give me, or to give the students, this progress practical mark, and between the the practical and the test marks that have been entered so far, each student, and I can see it as well, a progress mark for each student based on what's been entered so far, which is really good. It'll be really motivating and engaging for kids to be able to see this, for parents and caregivers to be able to see this, and for us to see it as well. So that's great, but how do you go about setting that up? So if I go into this high school test course, this high school test course was just one that was created so that people like myself and Lauren Butler could get a bit of a feel for what parents actually see. There's only one student enrolled into this high school test course, and that's Archer, my son. So I've been able to do a little bit of playing around in here to see what I can see as a parent, so that we're prepared for that when we release the parent side of Canvas. So if I just go into the Markbook here at the moment, what you'll see is that I've actually set a task for Archer. I'm sort of pretending I'm his science teacher here. I'm his high school science teacher. You can see I've set an assignment here, and I'll talk more about that later, what that assignment is and how I'd go about marking it. And you can also see that there is an assignment group or an assessment group here called assignments. It's almost like a default setting within your courses that this assignments group called assignments will be there, but there won't be a weighting ascribed to it. I've put this 30% there. How did I do that? I came across here, I selected the little cog icon, I said let's set some group weights, and I want assignments to be at 30%. I want them weighted at 30%, and I saved that. But then, as a science teacher, we don't just do assignments. I want to create some other assessment groups here as well. So if I go back into my course and I go into assignments, you can see here I can add an assignment group, or I tend to call them assessment groups, but I can add a new group. I'm going to call this group tests, and I'm going to make that worth 30% of the total mark as well. I'm going to add another group called practical reports, again 30%, and I'm going to add a final group called exam, and I'm going to make that worth 10%. So you can see I've got my assignment groups, or my assessment groups. Assignments weighted at 30%, tests weighted at 30%, practical reports weighted at 30%, and the exam weighted at 10%. And you can see that I've set an assignment called Scale Model of Space within the assignments part of the course. But what if I want to set a test? So I'll come across here and I'll hit the little add icon, add assignment to tests. It's an assignment. I'm going to call it Science Test 1. I could put a due date in there, and if it was a real course I probably would, so that it would appear on the student's calendar. I'm not going to worry about that tonight. I'm just going to put in that it's out of 100 points, but I need to look at some more options here. So Science Test 1, out of 100. Now this does freak me out a little bit. It's really impressive, honestly. It's automatically recognised that it's a test, I think because of the title or the heading that I actually gave it. So it knows that it's a test. It's not an assignment. It's not a prac report. It's not the exam. So again, I just need to make sure that I am selecting the assignment group or the assessment group that is tests. I'm going to display the mark in this case as a percentage, even though it is out of 100. If I wanted it to say, if it was out of 20, for example, and I wanted it to say 15 out of 20, then I would choose points. I haven't looked into really letter grades yet. I've just sort of been entering points or percentage for the different tasks that I've been put in. Submission type is really important. If you're asking students to submit something like a Word document, then you're going to ask for an online submission. If it's something like a test like this is, and I'm just wanting to use Canvas to give students their marks and to make that information available to parents and caregivers as well, then I need to select on paper as the submission type. It's not a group assignment. It doesn't require peer reviews. I don't want to assign it to everyone. I want to assign it to the high school test group. Again, I didn't set a due date before. I'm going to make it available from today, and I'm going to make it available until December the 15th, about sort of the end of the semester. I don't know if I need to do that or not. I guess in my mind I didn't want it dropping out or becoming unavailable. I'm pretty sure that even if I set that prior to then, it shouldn't fall out of the Markbook. I just wanted to be safe. So I just set it from the October today until December the 15th, when the course would be finished. So save and publish that task. And what you'll see now, if I go back into my Markbook, Science Test appears here, and all of my assessment groups or my assignment groups with their weightings appear here as well. And obviously if there were more students, they would appear down here. And this science test, I simply enter a mark. So it might have been 95 out of 100, and I enter that mark there. You'll see that my tests automatically populates with 95% because he's done one test. If there was another test there that he got 100 out of 100 for, then this would be 97.5. It would automatically calculate that each of those tests is weighted the same. With this scale model of space, there are a couple of things I want to talk about here. I set the task for an online submission, so Archer's submitted a Word document here. One thing I will show you is that if I hover over this cell and select this little arrow icon, I can elect to mute that assignment. What that means is that students can't see the marks that you are entering for that task while the task is muted. So that was one thing that we couldn't really do within my big campus. As soon as I entered an assessment for Archer, he could see it, even before I'd marked the other students in that class. So that's a really handy thing, to be able to mute a task so that you can then unmute it when you've finished marking and they're ready for you to release to students. So I'm going to open the speed grader for this particular task. The task that I said was in a Word document, explain how you would go about creating a scale model of the solar system. Now, what you see here is like a preview of the Word document that Archer submitted. So, Dad, I really don't know how to do this. I'm only in year 1. Mrs. Fernio is good and all, but she hasn't taught us this yet. So that's what his Word document says. His Word document is available here because he did submit that. If I wanted to do some work in that Word document, if I wanted to add some comments, make some minor edits, etc., then I could do that, and I could reattach that file using the file attachment here. I could record some audio if I wanted to and send that back with the task as well. But I'm going to enter a mark. It might be 92 out of 100. Not that that response in particular deserves that, but we'll enter 92 out of 100. And if I was wanting to go from student to student, much like my big campus, I would just use the arrows to take me to the next student in my course to flick through the students. You'll see here I can unmute that assignment from here as well, so you might get to the last student in your class and decide that you want to unmute that assignment so that those results have been released to students. Now, if I go back to my course in my Markbook, you'll see that that scale model score of 92 is there. My assignments group, my assessment group that is assignments weighted at 30% has been automatically populated with 92. And I've got a progress percentage here for this course of 93.5. And everything I can see here, Archer as a student can see when he logs in. Everything, if I was to log in as his parent, I can see all this information as a parent as well, which I just think is going to be really, really good for us, and there's going to be no surprises for parents and caregivers when they get their reports, if we can educate them how to use this properly. It's also really user-friendly for us because we can export this information to Excel and I guess have more functionality there and be able to copy and paste information into Accelerus for reports. So I hope you found that useful in terms of looking at how to set up your Markbook, setting up some assessment groups or some assignment groups that are weighted, and looking at how you would be entering your marks in the first instance when students complete work that you want to make the assessment available within Canvas. So hopefully